Welcome to Plus Talk on Plus Life. My guest today, Juan Michael Porter II, had a rather horrible experience recently as a person living with HIV, and he's here to share it. Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, Carl.
As I said there in the cold open, 10 weeks without HIV meds. You know, I think there's a lot of us who are concerned that this could happen to us, right? We're on our meds, we're undetectable, we're thriving, and then whether we lose our job or something that's going on politically, suddenly they say no more treatment. This actually happened to you. Can you take us back to the moment you realized that that access was gone, and what was going through your mind and what was that like?
Sure. So, I'm well connected with an HIV world. I'm senior editor at The Body formerly. At the time, I was actually the communications officer for Global Black Gay Men Connect, and now I'm the spokesperson for the US People Living with HIV Caucus. So I actually have friends who could give me meds or prescribe them to me, but I thought, let me do this for my own insurance access. I had insurance at the time, and when I went to apply for my next refill, suddenly my pharmacy was like, there's something wrong with your insurance. It's not going through. I spent days contacting people and saying, okay, this is paid for, this is there, I see the money has been withdrawn, why aren't my meds going through? And suddenly there were these procedures, constant back and forth that I would have to go through, providing different paperwork, providing confirmation that I actually had paid for something, even though they could see on their computer screen that it had been cleared, the money. At a certain point, someone actually said to me, it's almost like they don't want you to have your medication. And I'm not being a conspiracy theorist. This was the actual operator's words. And I started to think, okay, if this is what's happening right now, before these new plans have been put into place to make it difficult to access care, what's going to happen when those things are formally introduced into our health policy?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, anyone who's dealt with ADAP, and thank God, you know, that we have programs like that. But it ain't an easy at the best of times system to get on ADAP, and we'll get to that in a minute. But I sort of want to go back to sort of the early part of this horrible experience for you. You said 10 weeks without treatment, physically, emotionally. What's the toll?
We get so attached to being undetectable, and it's like, okay, I'm not a threat to myself, I'm not a threat to anyone else. It is deeply unsettling and unsexy to suddenly know that you have a viral load that's active. Physically, I was a wreck. I couldn't sleep. I was in constant pain. I had a conversation with a doctor who said to me, I know you're complaining about back pain, but I don't think it's the HIV. And so I said to her, do you think maybe the fact that my body hurts and I can't move is making my muscles even weaker, which is leading to back pain? And she backed off. But that was really all of it. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to be. All I wanted was to be back on my treatment and able to continue living like everyone else who's in treatment.
Yeah, and like I said, I think especially with what's going on in this country politically right now, there's a lot of us, myself included, that think what you went through could very easily happen to me just like that. Did what's going on in the country right now make this situation even sort of more scary and uncertain for you?
Yes. Again, I have a lot of options. I could have left the country, but I kept thinking I need to figure this out on my own because what this country has done to the world in disabling the HIV infrastructure and funding, I didn't think it was right for me as a US citizen to be asking for help from people elsewhere when they couldn't get their meds. And I started to blame myself and think like, okay, we caused this. You don't have a right to ask for help. And I know that's insane, but it's this thing that starts to get in on you where you associate yourself with a president, even if you didn't vote for him, and his health policies. More than that, I started to think, okay, is this going to be a return to like the crisis? Are we going back to the 80s? It's starting to feel like it.
How scared were you that this was going to end you?
When I got up one morning to go to the bathroom and my legs collapsed, and I actually had to crawl to the bathroom just to use the washroom, all the old movies that we've seen started flashing through my head. And I thought, okay, I think this is actually going to be it. That maybe one day I'll get up to go to the washroom and then I'll slip and hit my head and I'll just be there. Maybe that sounds like exaggerating, but when you can't control your legs, you really don't think you're going to keep living. Like, what if there was an emergency on the subway? I live in New York City, and that were to happen, and people would scream and say he needs help, but really what I would need was HIV medications. But if you can't get them, then what do you do? I know I'm rambling, but I did think that I was going to die at a certain point, and that's when I finally asked for help and was able to get assistance from ADAP in a single day because the right people were empowered, hadn't been fired yet to assist me.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what was that turning point? And then for you to get onto ADAP, just talk me through that process. You said on a day, so that's pretty impressive.
So I think we both know Terry Wilder, journalist, incredible advocate. She's also at Sage. She'd said to me previously when she found out that the body had eliminated my position, you need to get on ADAP. And I said, no, Terry, I have insurance. She just said, no, you need to be on ADAP because if something happens, this stopgap will be there in place to cover anything. And I thought again, I don't have a right to be on ADAP. I don't need it. I'll be fine. I, after I finished using the washroom, I called Terry and I said to her, look, you were right. I need help. And she said, okay, give me 5 minutes. She put me in contact with the state legislator for ADAP of New York. This woman spoke me through the entire form. She filled it in for me over the phone. And then I actually took a car to Staten Island where she lived so I could sign the forms. She put them in. And the next day, I spoke to another administrator and we confirmed everything. And I had ADAP. I immediately called my pharmacy and they did a rush order on my meds and they got to me. But that's only because those people are currently employed. That's only because the infrastructure allows for them to do their jobs. If there's any interruption in that, I would have been, I don't know what I would have been.
Well, and also, let's be honest, you were able to call a contact, and a lot of people don't have that for various reasons. What was the moment like for you when you took that first dose and sort of were back on treatment?
We have a mutual friend, Rafe, who, at some conferences, he'll sort of toast with other people living with HIV, his meds. And you look at it and you think it's kind of cute, but it felt like that. Like, oh, I'm taking a champagne shot of life-giving medication. And that might sound cheesy, but I immediately felt like I'm going to be okay. I didn't know if I had viral resistance. I didn't think I would, but the thought was in my mind. I thought, okay, now I need to go to the doctor's office and plan to see where my numbers are and all these other things. But that's just it. I started planning for the future again, and I had stopped up until that point.
And how are you feeling today?
I'm great. I'm dancing again. I've put healthy weight back on. I can sleep. I can eat. I actually think about having sex with people again. Um, yeah,
Good
I
for
feel
you.
alive.
Good for you. So I guess from beginning to end and to where you're sitting today, what has the process really been like, both physically and emotionally, even logistically for you, for being off that treatment for so long and now back on it?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is that 10 weeks isn't that long, but it was long enough to make me feel like I was going to die. And we as a community have to do everything we can to make sure that we have that access in place because life doesn't stop. You lose your meds, that's just one aspect of living with HIV. That's just one aspect of living. And I think more than ever, I'm firmly attached to this idea of like yelling and blasting this as much as possible. So I'm glad and grateful to be here talking to you about it because I don't want anyone else to go through this. I have a lot of access to care, and that's unique, but I'm not special in that many other people have their access being threatened, and I don't want anyone else to go through this. Emotionally, whew, I will never compare myself to people who survived the crisis, but I will say that for a moment I thought, oh, I guess I'm going to go that way too.
Well, we're glad you haven't gone that way. For someone who might be watching this, who has gone through a similar situation to you, who's sitting there without their treatment or has just found out, sorry, you're out of a job, you've lost your insurance, what's your advice to them to give them some hope, to give them a little bit of inspiration to not get too bogged down in the fear and to actually take care of themselves?
I would say, first of all, you're going to feel a bit of shame and blame. You're not at fault. Don't ever blame yourself. And even if you do, don't feel ashamed to ask for help. I suffered for 2.5 months for nothing. I didn't have to. And I think that when we're living with HIV, because the world already blames us simply for existing, it's easy to compound that and to internalize it. So reject that and think about all the other things that you want to live for and that you deserve to live for and ask for help. Call anyone and everyone. Don't be embarrassed to acknowledge what's going on. There are programs that are out there, and it could take someone like Terry Wilder. It could take talking to someone like you even that can certainly help you realize like, oh, no, 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 I don't have to do this. I deserve better. And there is a way forward for me.
Well, we are glad you're back on track and that that voice is being used, because boy, do I know that it can be used loudly and proudly at the best of times. Juan Michael Porter II, thank you for making the time and for sharing this story with us.
Thank you so much, Carl.
That is going to do it for this episode of Plus Talk. Hey, what'd you think? Leave a comment below. And remember, you can like, follow, and share. We're across all your favorite socials at Plus Life Media. Our website, pluslifemedia.com, has got lots of episodes and information, so check it out. And until next time, be nice to one another. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.